Hello, everyone. It is me, Monica P. Hall, aka Conduit of Healing, and it is time for our weekly messages for the collective. First and foremost, let me apologize because I did have to rest this last week, and so there was no message last week. You'll understand sometimes human happens. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes self-care requires that you cannot record your messages for the collective that week, and so people just have to wait, just like you have to wait. Okay? So sorry about that. All I can say is I'm here back with their message. But before we get started, please, as always, if you have been enjoying the messages that I've been giving to you, if you find them helpful, please make sure you have subscribed to the channel so that when the latest messages come out, you are the first to get them. And also, if at the end of this video you enjoy the video, you like it, please make sure you are hitting the like button, and also feel free to comment in the comment section. Those of you who do comment, I appreciate it. I know you're not always going to see all the messages as soon as they come out because, again, like we said, life happens. But when you do, if you find it inspiring, if you have a great takeaway from it, if it has taught you something, please share with everyone because I know I like to hear it and I think it helps other people too. Okay? Thanks. All right, so let's get into this one. This week's message is a very interesting one. I'm going to read it to you. The crew says, reset. Stop the world from gaslighting itself. Stop the world from gaslighting itself. What do they mean? Let's ask. They say, things like basic decency, respect, and civility have increasingly become the exception rather than the rule. People have become too willing to accept less in every aspect of their lives, not realizing the loss will never be acceptable to their souls. A small percentage of global society will continue to coerce you into settling for a lifestyle that never stops asking you to sacrifice yourself, while they continue to gain more than what they need or even have time to use or spend. The universe will never accept the false narrative of the virtues of poverty, and neither will your soul. The universe is designed in plenitude. If only humans chose to agree to share it. You were not born to settle. And should you try, your own soul will fight you the entire way. All right, so this one really covers so many different aspects of life, right? Because I'm a psychic medium, I'm constantly having conversations with people about every aspect of their life that they want a little insight on, they need some clarity on, or they need just kind of their own intuition validated. And in every conversation, what I'm overwhelmingly hearing is, should I settle? Will things change? Will this person do this, that, and the third? Will my situation get better? And the thing about it is that when I hear this, my first gut reaction is, well, what do you want to happen? What do you want to happen? We forget that we are co-creators. You are a co-creator. Every yes, every no, every action you take is manifesting something. If you take no action, that is an action. That means you are abstaining from using your personal power, and that whatever the situation that is taking place in your life at the time is being allowed to continue at the rate it's continuing, possibly even going slower or faster depending on the outside variables. But you have said, I wish to take no part in this whatsoever. So now you are saying, whatever happens to me because I'm just not going to do anything differently. And then you are upset when whatever happens to you actually happens and it didn't end up working in your best and highest good because you didn't want to participate in it. I'm talking to a lot of people about their job situations, about their careers, companies asking you to make more and more personal sacrifices, not for more pay, but for either the same amount of pay or even less pay than before. Not for more benefits, no, but actually for less benefits. But you have to do this and you have to make this personal sacrifice, you know, for the company, for your coworkers, because we will withhold any paycheck unless you basically sell yourself out, sell yourself short, accept little to close to nothing. We will just not give you anything at all. And I understand in certain circumstances why it might be necessary to agree to do that for a certain period of time. And I want to reiterate a certain period of time. But some of you have decided to make that a whole lifestyle. So not only are you settling at your jobs because you need your jobs, you're settling in your relationships because it's one thing not to have a job and, you know, you may not have any income to take care of yourself. But what is your reasoning for settling in a relationship? What is your reasoning for accepting less love than you deserve, accepting less respect than you deserve, emotional support than you deserve? What is your reasoning for accepting less in your relationships rather than taking responsibility for the fact that anybody in your life that is treating you less than you deserve, your job, your significant other, your friends, your family, anybody who is there that is basically saying, I'm only going to give you this much and this is all I'm getting and you're not getting anything else and you should accept it because I'm the best thing that's ever going to happen to you. You're never going to have another opportunity at love, at financial success, at health, at friendship. You know, you're never going to get another family. You have to accept these crumbs because that's all we feel like giving you. And you can't do better than this. Now think about that. Think about how that plays out in life. Think about how it plays out in, you know, everything from our health and mental health, our physical health, our psychological health. You know, think about how we approach relationships of any kind. Well, I don't want to be alone. I'm sorry. What's wrong with being alone? When you like yourself, when you have shown yourself self-love, the real thing, meaning I'm not afraid to be alone with myself. I know my issues are going to come up. I know my fears are going to come up. I know all the things that I've been hiding are going to come up. And rather than trying to shove some sort of toxic love relationship in my face and in the way so that I don't have to deal with myself, rather than, you know, chasing successes that may mean money but doesn't mean happiness, rather than continuing to have toxic and dysfunctional relationships with my family so that I can say I have a family, rather than bringing in all these situations that actually make you worse. What is wrong with going, I'm just going to deal with my shit? Whatever the trauma that comes up, I have the time, I have the space to actually be alone and to do this for myself. Because when you actually take the time to heal, when you take the time to work through your shit, when you take the time to listen and be present for yourself, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a better relationship with yourself, because you respect yourself enough to listen to what's wrong, what's broken, what is causing the unhappiness, what's the hurt. It has a name. It may have several names. It may have an origin that you can pinpoint if you allow it. If you decide for yourself that you're not going to repeat the narrative that you only deserve crumbs in life, if you stop all the distractions outside of yourself and you really take that time to spend the time alone and go, all right, this is what it is. I know what it is. I know who it is. I know what happened. I know it didn't happen. All right, I can see it. It's right there. I'm shaking. I'm crying. I'm upset. I feel like I'm having a breakdown. And maybe you are having a breakdown. Why is it not okay to say, okay, I'm having this moment? And rather than running to go into a toxic relationship, rather than running to work, rather than engaging into something that ultimately is going to hurt me, why is it not okay to say, you know what, let me call a professional to get some help? And that professional, it could be a therapist. It could be, a mentor, a life coach. It could be a psychic, but somebody who's going to help you begin the cleanup process of whatever the mess inside is. Someone's going to help you understand the importance of respecting yourself and loving yourself enough to listen to the painful parts, to acknowledge them, to show yourself compassion, and if necessary, to give yourself self-forgiveness if that applies. Why have we made taking the time to venture inside bad to the point where we're glorifying this whole idea of giving every last bit of yourself to a situation, a company, a family, a friend, a lover, that at the end of the day doesn't care what you actually need in order to be a better version of you? We are now in a situation where our basic access to what sustains human life is in jeopardy. There's supply chain issues. There's supply chain issues while also we are being told, at least in this country, what you can grow in terms of food, what seeds you have access in order to actually, grow your own food, how much water you're allowed to accumulate for yourself. Basically, if you do anything to sustain your own life that threatens the economic system and the powers that try to control our lives, you are now being unlawful. Nobody wants to say that part out loud, or at least it's not said loud enough and it's not said often enough. We have to accept that the systems are in place right now are not about sustaining our lives. It's not about promoting happiness. It's not about promoting health. It is not about promoting empathy, compassion, or anything that's going to make us better as a species. That is not what's going on here, people. And rather than realizing individually when we spend our time alone, I deserve better. I not only deserve better, I'm going to demand better. I'm going to demand better from all of my relationships. I'm going to have higher standards than I've had in the past for all my relationships. I don't care. Listen, if I like myself, if I enjoy my own company, if I have now put together a process of when an issue comes up within myself, I know how to deal with it. I know how to go within. I understand it's not going to be easy. I understand it's going to get messy. I understand ultimately it's my decision to heal, and it's ultimately my job to heal. Once I understand that, and I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and go, all right, let's do this. I'm taking away a lot of external powers, because now I'm no longer willing to play the game of seeking validation outside of myself. I no longer need someone else to tell me, hey, you're okay, in order for me to be okay with myself. I no longer need somebody to say, hey, your existence matters, in order for me to believe it for myself. You see what I mean? I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If it's up to somebody else to make sure you're happy, you're never going to be happy. And it's not always the case because somebody's malicious, but sometimes it really is the case that somebody's malicious. Like, well, if I'm not happy, no one around me is going to be happy. I'm sure you've met those people. There's quite a few of them out there who really are chaos agents, who are so miserable within themselves, they cannot bear the idea that you like yourself. They cannot bear the idea that you are out there doing the work and you are glowing from the inside out and you are just finding the joy in all of this mess, if you will. So they'll do everything that they can to justify their misery by trying to spread it to people like you and I. Those people are real. I mean, this whole idea that basically everyone is good is such bullshit. And I say it and I laugh when I say it, and I've been laughing and saying it for years at this point. And it's not because I just, want this to be the case. It's because I'm paying attention to reality. I'm looking at the history of the human being. And you know what's overwhelmingly clear? If shit is bad, it's because we're making it bad. And if we have moments of goodness, it's because we're making it good. And why are those moments happening? Because we're choosing them at every moment of a given day. So that when we try to tell one another, well, you just got to take what you can get, what we really mean is you just got to take what I feel like giving you. And you know what? No, you don't. No, you don't. So as I'm recording this today, we're actually in the middle of having a new moon. And there's just a lot of energy that is saying, dead it, cut them off at the knees, throw it out, let it go, blah, 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 blah. And I know that we are now finishing up, honestly, for me, and this is just how I feel, this has got to be the worst January in recent memory of my 47 years. This was a slugfest. So if you made it through, because far too many people didn't, honestly, take a moment and love on yourself for making it through this really, really tough month of this 22 year. So that's an easy win. I made it. Love yourself for that. But at the same time, understand what's happening around us. There is a push to make things harder because evolution, ascension, it's being resisted with everything the system can throw at it, trying to continue to exist. Now, mind you, while they will lose, and they will lose, and you know how I know that they will lose? History. At no time have we been ever able to conquer the demands of ascension or growth of the universe. Like, it's literally never happened. I can only imagine at some point some version of a humanoid said, I don't want my body changing. I like my gills. I like my tail. I don't want to have opposable thumbs. I like the excessive hairiness. I don't want to change my body. But we did. I mean, it's that simple. So if you think you're always in control of like what's happening, no, you're in control of your experience. Okay, there's the whole universe happening, growing, changing, moving, doing stuff, whatever. And I'm saying yes or no to it. Me saying yes or no only affects, me. It doesn't affect you, really. Unless we are relating or in a relationship. See how that works? The world didn't stop. The world is still doing what it's doing. Grass is still growing somewhere. The tide is still coming in and out somewhere. The planet's still turning. Day is still becoming night, and vice versa. But we have been taught to believe that human beings can decide what tomorrow is going to look like based on their need for certain outcomes. This is all going somewhere. I always tell my clients what's happening right now on a collective scale. And this is messages for a collective. On a collective scale, we are purging. And so if it feels like this is just getting worse, you have to think about it like illness, like being sick, like having a stomach virus. When you first can, contract an illness, you don't know until your body starts trying to fight it off, until your immune system starts kicking in. Now you're coughing. Now you're sneezing. Maybe you're wheezing. And depending on what it is, now your stomach is hurting. And now you have, stomach pains, and your digestive system is a mess. And without a shadow of doubt, I am sick. I feel terrible. I feel horrible. Okay? So then what happens? Well, if your immune system is working, you start having a fever. You start getting chills. You start sweating. And in some cases, you start vomiting. And when you're going through that, it may suck. But the truth is, what's really happening is you're in the midst of the healing process. Yes, I'm sweating, I'm vomiting, my nose is running, I'm a whole mess. I don't feel in control of any of this. Like, stuff is coming out. And it's coming out because the body is healing itself. That's what we're going through. We're going through a collective healing process because it's been too dark for too long, and it's been so subliminal, so sinister, so dark, that we've created distraction after distraction after distraction. And these distractions, 9 times out of 10, are telling you you're not good enough on some level. Whether it's, I have a dream of doing this. Okay, great. Well, you have to compete to get this. And, maybe you'll get there. And when you get there, we're not going to give you what your talent says you're worth. We're not going to give you what your intelligence says you're worth. Because, we don't care. Personally, we would actually prefer to just use all your talents, all your abilities, all your intelligence, and not pay you anything. There's a word for that, right? When somebody uses all of your talents, all your abilities, all your strength, they use you to the point where you don't even have life force anymore, and they don't want to pay you. There's a word for that, right? And there is an entire system in place that wants you to believe that your talent, your contribution to the planet, your presence, your intelligence, it's really worth nothing at all. But here's a few dollars. Here's a few pounds. Here's a few, whatever your currency is. Here's a few, just so you don't feel completely abused. Here's a few dollars. Here's some crumbs. Now, with your crumbs, try to make a life for yourself. We know you're not going to be able to make much of a life for yourself. We know we're not paying you a living wage. We know. I mean, but here's the thing. If you have options to not do this, if we gave you what you were worth, then you might leave and find something else to do. And how do we use you when you're doing something else? You see the gaslighting in place? I'm never going to give you what you actually are worth and what you're actually are due and what the universe actually provided you with already. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you, treat you like you're worth nothing at all, so that when I give you crumbs, you will be really excited about it. Now, we can talk about that in the workplace, and we can also talk about it in relationships. Some of you are so afraid of having no one that you will be with someone who still makes you feel like you're alone. Because at least I'm not alone. Yeah, you are. Is somebody sitting right next to you and they don't acknowledge your feelings and they don't acknowledge, your thoughts, and you can cry next to them and they don't feel the need to comfort you or ask you what's wrong? If they are causing strife in your relationship with them and they expect you to just show up and take it, and I'm like, hey, but at least you're not alone. And a lot of you will sit there and take that. And then you'll call up me or, one of my colleagues in the psychic medium world or in the divination world, an astrologer or tarot card reader or whomever, and go, how do I make them do blah, blah, blah? Listen, you don't. That's the short answer. You don't make anyone do anything they don't want to do. And if you try, because I know some of y'all want to do the spell work and so on and so forth, there's going to be some sort of energy exchange for that. You don't just get away scot-free when you try to override somebody's free will. So I hope when you go ask for those spells and stuff like that, you understand that it's coming back. I don't know which direction it's coming from, but anytime you try to violate free will, that you messing with universal law. Good luck to you. Namaste, because yikes. When you don't have to settle, why can't you accept that perhaps the situation you're in, no matter how much you want it, if it's not the right situation for you? And how do I know? How do you know, Monica, you're saying that the person that I love, that I think loves me, whatever, how can you say that this isn't the right person for me? Well, one, if you're reaching out to me, you kind of already know it's not the right situation for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking for help, clarity, guidance on how do I navigate it. So you already know that on one level. I know some of y'all like to call and fight with us, divination practitioners about what we see, because we are seeing the truth and we are feeling the truth and spirit's talking about the truth and the cards are saying this is what's going on. Listen, you call, you reach out, because on some level you already know. But here's the thing. Your partner is going to choose whatever they want. And if the two of you are not on the same page about A, being a couple, B, being a healthy couple or in a healthy relationship, dude, there's nothing you can do. And sometimes you have to realize what's in your best and highest good in a situation, even when there's love involved. And I'm not even going to argue that the love is not real. Yes, but is the love that's there in your best and highest good? Is it making you better? Is it making the other person better? Is the relationship making everyone better? Or is it diminishing you? Is it breaking you down? Is it, stealing your light, stealing your joy? I can take that same framework and I can say, now go to do your job. Does your job bring you joy? Is your job making you better? Do you get excited about being there? Do you feel valued? Do you see where in every aspect, when we are not getting what the universe meant for all of us to have, there's going to be an internal part of us that says, I don't fucking think so. I'm not doing this. I did it. I tried. I waited. I talked. I whatever. And then one day we have to make a decision. Either I'm going to die in this horrible situation, job, relationship, family situation, whatever. My soul has to die in order for me to stay here, or I'm going to stop fighting with my soul, see the truth, and realize I gotta go. The world is really trying to gaslight you. The world is really trying to tell you the worst is not really the worst. The world really is trying to tell you that you're not worth a damn thing unless I put value on you. The world really is trying to tell you your best is not good enough if I have to keep paying you for it. The world really is trying to tell you settle for a partner that really is going to give you the least amount of anything, to the point of full-on abuse, but at least you won't be alone. That's really happening, folks. And honestly, if you think I'm being Debbie Downer today because I'm speaking about reality, and it's like, oh my God, Monica, you're so dark today. This is so negative. Is it negative? Pause. Look at the world. Look at the world in the last 5 years. Look at the world in the last 10 years. Look at the world in the last 20 years. Look at the world in the last century, and on and on and on. This is not a new argument. I'm not talking about anything new. This is the human journey. We're always spiritual beings having a human experience. And unfortunately, far too many of us really think that we are humans having a spiritual experience. Let me say that again. You are an eternal spiritual being. You are having a moment in your spiritual journey where you're embodied as human. And the journey, the work is, how do I express my spiritual true self through this human embodiment? How do I balance those two? How do I not allow the quibbles, the qualms, the insecurities, the misery, the othering, the confusion of egos need to be validated by outside forces? How do I control that urge and redirect that energy back to my spirit? Realize I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, calm down my ego and go, shh, shh, shh. It's okay this person doesn't like you, because free will. We don't have to like the fact that they don't want to be in love with us, that they don't want to be with us, that they don't want to pay us what we're worth on this job. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm saying you have to accept it and then decide, what are you going to do to make yourself better, even in the midst of this reality where they don't want to be with you. Okay, I should accept that they don't want to be with me, and I should move on. First, allow myself to heal, and then, you know what? Be available to somebody who actually wants to love me. I should, as soon as possible while working this shitty ass job, start working on my resume and start thinking about an exit strategy. Because you know what? I just can't accept a living death. So, we got to stop the gaslighting. We got to stop it. The world really is gaslighting itself. And even those who quote unquote stand on top, they're gaslighting themselves. They are under the impression that they really do deserve more than they'll ever need, ever use, ever spend. Right? And their constant fear is, I'm going to lose it all. Well, you have to transition, aka die, so you're going to lose it all. Or that if they've gotten their wealth or what have you by sinister means, hurting people, using people, sometimes killing people, torturing people, stealing from people, yeah, that should be a real fear, because the universe is going to balance itself out one way or the other. I mean, you could be the richest person ever and then have a very painful end to all of it. So then what was it worth? You could, have all the things and everyone hates you because you're a horrible person and you have no morals and you have no ability to either love or be loved. I mean, so really no one's getting away with being gaslit. So we have to realize that all of this is coming up to make us realize our own power. Forget our power over one another, because we don't have it. We don't have power over one another. By the way, we don't have power over one another. You do have power over yourselves. So if you would just really detox from the distractions, you could actually make this whole thing a little bit easier to navigate by dealing with yourself. Okay? So that's going to be all for me today. I know this was a lot. I honestly do recommend that you watch this one, more than once. Maybe pause or take breaks where you need to in order to just ponder some of the stuff I've said, because it is a lot. But it's really what's happening. We've got to stop the gaslighting. We've got to stop buying into the false narratives. We've got to stop craving the distractions, because we're not going backwards. We're not going to a time where the distractions were so readily available. It's just not the direction the universe is moving. So it's not even an option. Okay? You could hurt yourself trying. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing. But personally, me, no, I'm not. And if you're watching my videos, I'm hoping that that's not what you're choosing either, because I won't be advocating that, and neither will my crew, so you won't get any messages about how to move backwards in life. Yeah, that's not going to be happening. Thanks so much for watching. Once more, if you are enjoying these messages, if you're getting something out of it, please make sure you're subscribing to them. Hit the like button on this particular video if you're enjoying it. And, when you get through this, again, I know it's a lot, make sure that you comment, okay? January 22, down. Whew. Congratulations, we made it. Thanks again. Mwah. Namaste.